Make sure that you're filling your evaluation slips out. These are very helpful for all of our speakers, guests, members, everybody. Distinguished Toastmaster Tim Linger is going to teach us some history. How the United States Postal Service got started. For example, did you know that the very first U.S. post office was inside a tavern in Boston, Massachusetts? Sounds awesome. In any case, today, Tim is here to tell you about the history of the U.S. Post Office. Let's welcome distinguished Toastmaster Tim Linger.
Good morning, Toastmasters.
Good morning.
Distinguished Toastmasters. All right. We could call this speech Toastmasters Going Postal. What happened in 1620? Anybody? The Pilgrims landed. A small village, no post office required. But by 1639, several colonies were set up on the East Coast in New England, and there needed to be some kind of a transportation service for the mail. So the first post office was created in Boston. And what's interesting is by 1691, there was a lot of post offices up and down the East Coast. So much so that there needed to be a central postal organization, a CPO. In fact, there was 3 CPOs. Now, this is not to be confused with the R2-D2 fame. Fast forward to 1707. The British government realized that there was a profit to be made in delivering mail in the new country. So they seized the 3 CPOs. Until 1792, when the U.S. government, U.S. Postal Service, decided to reorganize it, and by then there was 75 post offices across the East Coast. In the 1800s, there was so much mail going back and forth that they needed a transportation service, the Pony Express, eventually steamboats and the railroad. American Express, we think of them as a credit card company, was one of the very first contractors to deliver mail on the East Coast. In the West Coast, we had Wells Fargo, before they got into banking, was delivering U.S. mail in California and such. By 1943, the mail got pretty complicated. You were addressing something to Bill Smith in Utah. Seriously. So they came up with a zip code system, which is genius. 5 digits. It made mail so much easier. 32801 went right down to Orlando. It was nice. 100 years later, in 1943, they decided to come up with an abbreviation for states. And the reason is because people couldn't spell. They couldn't spell. For an example, Mississippi. All right, all together, how do you spell Mississippi? M-I-S-S-I-S-S-I-P-I. That was created to help people spell. But what about Massachusetts? Pennsylvania? So a lot of people were abbreviating these long words because they couldn't spell them. They were even abbreviating Utah. Now if you think about it, Utah is not an easy word to spell. So in 1973, the Postal Service decided to hire a group of people to sort of put the math, the letters together. Let's abbreviate the states all the way down to 2 letters. Even Iowa would be 2 letters. Everything would be 2 letters. So let's get started. Now they actually hired some Toastmasters, a club. Happened to be in Winter Park. Ty Patton, Roy Shear, and Chris Miles led the charge. Now we learned later that there was a financial incentive. We didn't know that until after the whole going postal thing went. But with that, they figured they could knock it out in 10 minutes during table topics. No one would know. They started with the A's, of course. So let's go with Alaska. A-L. Everyone good? Alaska. A-L. Come on. All right. Moving on to Alabama. Everyone good with shortening that to 2 letters? Now this was the first sign that they were in trouble. So they moved on to California. CA, good? Oh, okay. We'll go with Arkansas.
You weren't on the team.
No, I can't. California, CA, Colorado. Everyone good with CO? Connecticut. Yeah. Well, we're going to fast forward this 10 minutes because the whole thing's falling apart. There's dissension in the ranks. Now, everyone good with high? Huh? Aloha. That's what happened. Let's move on to the M's. Massachusetts, Maine, Maryland. You see, this is going to be a problem, right? Table topics ran over. The meeting ran over. Michigan. Oh, Nevada, New York. It just keeps going and going. Roy actually led the charge, but he's not here today, so he can't defend himself, so I was going to leave him out. Look at this. We're done. Look at that. One page left. So the Postal Service got rid of Roy and the whole team and decided to hire a contractor, a professional company to do this. But they weren't looking for a contractor. They were looking more like a contractor, someone that could take these big words and knock it into 2 letters. They found a guy. They found a guy that was famous. This guy was so famous that he shortened some of the longest words there were. For an example, in the old days, there used to be a time called 5 of the clock. He took that comma at the bottom of a word and he put it up here in the sky. He called it a sky comma. Now it's 5 o'clock. He did things like would not, wouldn't, cannot, can't. Throw that sky comma up there and a whole new word is formed. He really came to fame and got rich, millions of dollars, when he hooked up with Budweiser approximately 20 years ago. He hooked up with Budweiser. This guy is now internationally known for changing what is up.
What's up?
What's up? Thank you, Toastmasters.
That scream of "what's up" certainly woke me up, dear Lord. Well, for our final speaker, we have a back pocket speech that he did not know he was delivering today. So I have no introduction, and distinguished Toastmaster Jeff Rufinot needs no introduction.
Toastmasters and guests, I stand before you with no introduction, with no speech.